Then we're going to be talking about Black Cat, but not the Black Cat you think. Not Marvel Comics Felicia Hardy, but Harvey Comics version that appeared in the experimental, interesting comic, digest-sized comic called Pocket Comics #1 from August of 1941. Didn't work. I'm pretty sure because who's going to pay about 10 cents for a digest-sized comic? Pay 10 cents for standard-sized American comic at the time. Yeah, it interesting experiment, but hey, I give them a hand for trying. But Black Hat's story is an interesting one. One thing I came across this comic looking up the Marvel Comics Black Cat, and trying to figure out how long did it take between issues when Kevin Smith, because he's notoriously late. This happens. You bring Hollywood people in, and even though he's indie, I'm like, but the Hollywood slowness. Look at J.J. Abrams, for example. J.J. Abrams say anybody can buy into making comics, but Black Cat was in a comic called Speed Comics for a while, and eventually she did get her own series called Black Cat Comics, which is her on a motorcycle. This is the image popping a wheelie. I mean, simple, pretty basic. I like it. It's a very direct, but interesting path these comics take. Now, start out pretty much standard superhero fare. Now, her comic run, it ran from June, July 1946. Now, like I said, she previously appeared in 1941. That's her first appearance. And she was running as backup in Speed Comics. Now, her first comic was June, July 1946. So, okay, Hiroshima and Nagasaki already been bombed. Soldiers are coming home. Everybody's coming home, slowly. They're policing actions throughout the world. You got the Soviets, just running roughshod all over Germany and snatching things up, whatever. But her reign of her own book ran from June, July 1946 to April 1963, which is interesting. This is pre-code. This is post-atomics, pre-code, during the code, and then eventually Marvel's already shown up and is just obliterating pretty much everybody around for the most part. Now, granted, even though they were kind of hamstringed, but they're still doing real good at the time. Well, it wasn't just Black Hat, as we'll see through the cover. So, okay, we've got Black Cat #1, followed by Black Cat #2, pretty much straightforward. All focused on her face, which is kind of odd. I like the cover to #1 more, but whatever. But then you got 2, and she's that's 2. Now you got 3, where she's jumping onto a casino table, breaking up a game of pirates playing, I suppose. Then you have the ghost of Blasco punching a guy out. Looks like some kind of mobster. And then, what's your favorite role, Mister? Like because she's a celebrity under the mask and everything. It's like I guess it's supposed to be like Lana Turner or something on his variation thereof, fighting crime. And then just like oh, she's a hit, and okay, pretty straightforward covers. It's like the Black Cat rides waves. So she's gonna lasso these criminals in a speedboat. She's out at sea. I'm like, okay. He then says she's got 2 stories in one, and all sensational. So okay, keep going. Pretty much straightforward covers, and yeah, we got celebration. Okay, then around issue 12, we have an incident where he's seen on a horse. Okay, no big deal. It's westerns were big at the time, and TV and TV was the early days, but radio westerns and movies. And I'm like, okay, seems a little bit more. Okay, going back to the motorcycle. Okay, she's fighting people in pretty interesting costumes, Goblin and a Jack-o'-lantern man, which I'm like, okay, I'm down for that. And then we get like back to the western, more western. Now it went from Black Cat comics to Black Cat Western. So, okay, and you're getting like, okay, what's going on here? So clearly, Western comics are taking off. So they said, okay, we want to keep the superhero aspect, but we want to aim more Western. Let's go Western. So that keeps up for a while, and it keeps up, and then it kind of goes back to the Hollywood stuff, for issue 21, and then 22, 23, 24. It's 24 actually an interesting cover. I actually like this glass ceiling breaking through it. Haha. Women breaking through the glass ceiling thing. It looks like Gene Shalit and a couple other people, whatever, in the Mona Lisa. And then, I got these people joining me for my new comics. One of them looks like actually like is that Betty White down in the bottom left? I don't know. And I think Lucille Ball and a couple other people illustrated an interview with Kirk Douglas. Okay, interesting. But saving kids from a burning building, uh, driving through the snow with Santa Claus in a jeep, and basically a one-piece bathing suit. I'm like, okay, uh, cold must not bother her. Fighting a giant pirate. And I'm like, all right, I'm down for that. She's gonna stab him with a shovel. I've seen Reanimator. Now that goes. Uh, Battling a witch. I'm like, okay, so something's going on here. What's happening? Horror. Horror is picking up, so they're testing the waters a little bit. You got this weird this ginger with like a grasshopper, cave cricket body, a crow man, a fish man with tentacles coming out, grabbing at her. I'm like, okay, Black Cat Mystery. So here we go. So we got Black Cat Mystery going on. That started with the witch and everything. So we have Black Cat Mystery, and it keeps going. And hey, where'd she go? Where'd the costume go? It's like, oh, I don't think she's even in here anymore. I haven't read these comics, but then you get these very weird, very to me interesting, horror looking comics. Electrifying corpses and monsters burying women and nukes and creatures and all this kind of stuff, and giants and ghouls and ghosts and zombies rising from the grave, people being strangled on the cover, and it just gets more and more extreme. And like it comes in waves like these. The covers, the art, it's like brutal. They're trying to match pace with the likes of EC, and in some cases they're doing it. I mean, they're knocking it out of the park. Especially covers like issue 40 cover and issue 39, but you have like giant bats and everything, and classic stuff. When you know you, the some stuff that might be a little controversial, whatever. The guy going to be burning alive and surrounded by oil and distorted faces and monsters and creatures and some alien stuff. And then you hit issue 50, where I've seen some gruesome covers before. This is one of the most shocking horror. Radiates from white heat, and this guy's like melting down to his skeleton. His jaws, like everything's rotting away. I'm like, that's pretty horrific. And I love the colors. I'm like, the color choices are fantastic. The yellow in the background highlighting the red gore in the front, the white on the sides, the horror shock look in his eyes, the logo with the red and yellow, and like the pink purple. Strangest tales of fear and superstition, Black Cat Mystery. I'm like, okay, great. I'm sold. If I saw that comic, I'd buy it if it was a decent price. But more horror, and like, it gets in, and so giant monsters. Your giant monster films. Must be taking off. And so, oh, what happened here? We're going back to Western. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's something called a Comics Code, because that issue 40 came out, issue 50 came out in 1954. So Comics Code came out at the same time. So they were trying to get this. They were getting this stuff out, and like, oh, can't do it no more. So they had to go back to Western. Hey, Western's still big at the time, and so you had the pretty much standard box standard westerns. Then it gets like fish people, like trying to take down man, and then there's ghosts, and so you got Black Cat Mystic. I'm like, what is going on? A guy racing himself. I'm like, we gotta stop him. Okay, this is really weird. Kind of reminds me kind of Ditko like stuff. I'm pretty sure it's not Ditko, but uh, at this cover to issue 61, we're reaching the end of this comics run because it ran 65 issues. Black Cat Mystic. It kind of looks like Mobius, Arzak. It looks like Arzak in the city streets. I'm like, all right, I'm down for that. And I don't. It's Snake charming into the Cloud City. I'm like, what is going on here? Fighting and wow, she's back. Black Cat is back. She's fighting. She's got judo tricks. And then you got her battling Satan. And then like using. Hey, Batman's got a bat signal. She's got the cat signal, and that's how it ends. And so we have this interesting roller coaster from superhero to western to horror to kind of mystery, back to western, then back to superhero. So I mean, chasing trends. I think all this kind of boils down to chasing trends. I think we lost a lot when the Comics Code came in. A lot of people talking about, oh, Comics Code allowed creativity. You do understand that Comics Code, there's an infamous story called Judgment Day. It is an EC comic story. It's a part, I think, shock suspense. It's not the horror stuff. It was the sci-fi style. Joe Orlando and I think Alf Feldstein. And the story is about this astronaut coming to an alien planet, and the alien planets are robots. They're making machines and everything. And like, we're going to decide to basically be let in. This is pre-Star Trek. Be let into our like Federation. And it's like, you're red-colored robots. So what about these blue ones over here? Ah, they're blue ones. They're inferior to us. So basically bigotry. And then the astronaut's like, well, I can't. He doesn't tell him. He's like, oh, we'll get back to you. So he gets like, nah, we're not gonna let him in because of the bigotry. And the astronaut takes the helmet off, and it's a black man. And Comics Code is like, no, 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 no. You can't do that. You can't. Astronaut can't be a black man. And so they're like, all right, you changed the decision on this because the reason they even did that story is because they actually had a previous story rejected, and we just did this to cover it. All right, you don't want to put it in here? We'll just tell everybody you hate black people. And all right, and they okayed it. I mean, Comics Code are a joke, and people that simp form are even bigger jokes. And a lack of creativity is not like, well, it's they took away the code so people could be less creative. I'm like, no, it's the fact that it's people that did not have life experiences, just growing up reading comics and watching movies, reading comics and watching movies, and reading comics and watching movies that were inspired by people that read comics and watched movies. And so it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. You didn't get out there in the world, and this is where you come from. Hey, you're of course you're going to get poor content. All right, thank you for listening. Have a good one.